cookies and speaking French. Oh la la. Walgreens.
$0 copays apply to Tier 1 generic drugs and select plans where Walgreens is a preferred pharmacy.
Warning, this product contains nicotine. Nicotine is an addictive chemical. Inspiration is amazing. It can turn this into this. Put it all together, and you get something special. Views is putting it all together with a special price, 99 cents for a Views Alto Power Unit. Available in-store and at Views.com. Views, charge beyond. Vapor products, underage sale prohibited, 99 cents plus tax. Pod sold separately. Website restricted to age 21 and over tobacco consumers.
Portions of the following program were pre-recorded.
If you've got a smart speaker, you've got us. Just say, play 96.9 The Game on iHeartRadio. FM 96.9 The Game. WYGM Orlando. WJRR HD2 Cocoa Beach, Orlando. The home of the UCF Knights. Time to put the pedal to the floor. It's loud and live and local. Oh, time for open mic.
TGIF, everybody, we are loud, live, and local on this fine Friday morning. Here in Central Florida. Hopefully it doesn't rain this weekend. The Daytona 500 is coming up Sunday. The Bulldog is supposed to be there, and I do not want it to be delayed. Welcome to Open Mic. I'm Mike Bianchi, the Bulldog, sports columnist of the Orlando Sentinel, joined as always by the deceptive intellect one Adam Reardon, also Austin Pastolka. He's known as the Sultan of Sound.
Yeah, that's right, Mike. Man, I got to tell you, I'm fired up because I've already written something over on 969thegame.com. Jacksonville Jaguars, the super villains of the NFL now. Also, we're giving away Supercross tickets at the Sound Off.
Yeah, we are going to get into the Urban Meyer very controversial hire on his first NFL coaching staff with the Jaguars. We'll get into that story as the show progresses. We want to hear from you as always. Why? Because we are the People Show. Give us a call, 407-916-8255. Tweet us at 96.9 The Game. Text us on our Academy Sports and Outdoors text line. That's 50857. First chance at $1,000 coming up at 7:10 a.m. this morning. That's not that far away, so you'll want to be listening. We do it twice every morning. The Dash for Cash, 7:10 a.m. each weekday morning, and then 8:10 a.m. each weekday morning on this very show. And on this very show, we like to begin things with an open mic early morning inspirational quote of the day. This comes from the great Winston Churchill. Winston Churchill once said, and I quote, "Success is the ability to go from one failure to another with no loss of enthusiasm." End quote.
Then he followed it up with, "Can someone give me another cigar?"
Deceptive intellect?
That one's actually pretty simple. It's don't quit. Don't quit. Success in and of itself is never quitting, because you're going to fail a bunch, but you got to keep going from that failure and be willing to fail again without losing the enthusiasm to put the effort in.
Are you saying hold the line? Are you saying to the moon?
I'm not saying
he's
to the moon.
saying
I'm saying diamond
he's saying
hands,
it's all
but-
in, he's saying it's all, yeah, he's saying it's all in a state of mind.
That's what it is.
Oh, wow. All right, we have a lot of polls up already. You can go to at 96.9 The Game on Twitter and vote on those polls. One of those polls has to do with the Daytona 500 coming up this weekend. By the way, who did I pick to win the Daytona 500? I don't know if you guys remember, all right?
Tampa's own, right?
Tampa's own Eric Almirola, who was on our show last week or the week before. I gave him the open mic karma, if you will. And what happened last night? Eric Almirola continued the Tampa mojo by winning the first of the dual 150 qualifying races. Here's what the two races sounded like last night.
Bell goes with him on the bottom.
Side draft coming from Eric Almirola, trying to stall him. There it goes.
Here comes his help with the 20 car. What's
20's
20
going to go
do? Try to put him. And it's Almirola coming to the line. They are three abreast. It's Almirola over Christopher Bell and Ryan Newman. Sure enough. How about this push, Kevin Harvick?
Another one. Yep, another one.
Dylan are going to have to get up and block him. Going to have to get up. Here
the
it goes.
inside, yep.
There's the block. Dylan to the bottom. Here they come, racing to the line. It is Dylan. Power move right there. Nice job, man.
Austin Dillon, tricky move at the end to go by Bubba Wallace to win the second 150 dual qualifying race. So Austin Dillon and Eric Almirola win the two qualifying races last night. The big news, however, was that the two Hendrick drivers who were on the front row after pole qualifying earlier in the week, Alex Bowman and William Byron, they were slated to be at the front of the field, but after last night, maybe not. Bowman had engine problems in the first 150-mile race, and if his motor needs to be changed, that means he'll forfeit Sunday's pole and go to the back of the pack. Byron was collected in a crash in the second duel, ruined his car. That means he's going to move to a backup car, which means he has to go to the back of the field as well. All right, one of our polls we already have up, all right? Best storyline for Sunday's Daytona 500. Which potential winner would be the best storyline for NASCAR at Sunday's 500? Here are your choices. Bubba Wallace driving Michael Jordan's car. Michael Jordan, of course, involved in NASCAR as a car owner for the first time this season. Denny Hamlin going for the three-peat. Kyle Busch, one of the greats in NASCAR, finally winning a Daytona 500. He's never won. And finally, everybody remembers last year, Ryan Newman and that scary, frightening, death-defying crash. How good of a story would it be if Ryan Newman a year later wins the Daytona 500? All right, those are all really great storylines, but if I had to pick what would be best for NASCAR, it would be Michael Jordan's car winning with Bubba Wallace driving it. Again, all the other storylines are great. I would go Bubba Wallace number one, and then Ryan Newman number two, then maybe Kyle Busch, and then Denny Hamlin with the three-peat. Any thoughts on that?
I couldn't agree more with that, to be perfectly honest. That's the exact ranking I had in my head. I mean, when it comes to getting fans in the stands for NASCAR, how do you do it? You need bigger stars to say, I like this thing. And Michael Jordan is one of the biggest stars out there, and having Bubba Wallace win in a Michael Jordan car, I got to tell you, that's big time.
Yeah, and you know, I think that NASCAR has an issue, a perception issue, which is a lack of diversity. Remember Bubba Wallace's name, probably from this point up until he wins a race like the Daytona 500, will always be connected to the garage pull rope that was oddly enough shaped like a noose, which is the only one in that entire garage area that looked like that. It's always going to be that. And so for NASCAR, the sport, which had a very high peak at one point, there was a time where NASCAR, I mean, it was a popular sport. Now
it was a boom sport. It was a boom sport in the early 90s.
Yeah, now it's more back to the niche sport, where its fan base is, kind of, a more southern appeal. Having a little color in the top, look what it did for golf. Now, Tiger not only is African American, but Tiger's a generational talent. Now, I don't know if Bubba Wallace is that. No. But let me tell you
well, I can tell you he's not, because he hasn't won a race yet, and he's been on the circuit for 4 or 5 years.
Probably in a bad car. Guy was in a bad car. Let's blame the car.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, he was on Richard Petty's race team, and Richard Petty doesn't invest a lot into his race team, and plus it was a one-car team, so now he's going to have better equipment. So that's true.
Yeah, I think that's the best case scenario for NASCAR. But if it happens, I definitely. I want to be there when it happens. I would love to be in the crowd to take a look around. I want to turn my camera to the crowd and see how excited everybody else is for it.
Again, I think it would be great for NASCAR if Michael Jordan's car with Bubba Wallace driving it could win the race. I don't think that's going to happen, although Bubba Wallace has run well during the week. He did well in pole qualifying. I think he was 4th, and then he almost wins the dual qualifying race last night. Who's not winning, though, is the Orlando Magic. Man, another loss and another injury last night. Steph Curry scores 40, hits 10 three-pointers as the Warriors beat the Magic 111-105. The Magic lose another starting point guard when the great Frank Murphy goes out with a strained groin. Here's the highlights or lowlights from last night.
Mason?
What did I say?
Murphy?
Frank Murphy.
Who's Frank Murphy?
You wrote Frank
Mason.
Murphy this morning. Yeah, might as well. I mean, Oscar Mayer Franks.
Frank Murphy, Frank Mason, whatever.
Deutsche Franks. We don't care. No Franks matter around here.
Highlights.
Curry behind the back. All eyes on him. Takes it right side. Step back triple. That's good for Curry.
I mean, it just looks so easy.
There's Wiggins on the accelerator to the front court. JTA catches, finds Curry, left alone above the break. It's good. And that's his night 3. Curry to the timeline. Waits, dribbles, hook pass to Draymond outside the arc. Back to Curry. Quick release from the left wing. Splash for Curry. That's number 10 on the night.
In terms of effort, listen, couldn't be prouder of them, and I'm not like that. Our guys competed hard the whole game, and Steph was, Steph. We had a chance. I mean, to me, in a situation like this, tomorrow night will be the same thing. You want to, on the road against a good team, down numbers, you want to give yourself a chance to win, and we did that.
Yeah, he's right. They didn't quit. That was Steve Clifford finding the positive, as all coaches must do when they're coaching bad teams, as Adam Reardon told us the other day. Mason, his first NBA start in 4 years, Frank Mason last night, and it lasted all of 4 minutes and 17 seconds. That's when he went out with a groin injury. Again, the Magic are just the walking wounded. They had 8 players available to them last night. Evan Fournier was out. Al-Farouq Amino was out. Aaron Gordon was out. Michael Carter-Williams out. That doesn't even count Jonathan Isaac and Markelle Fultz. And then the great Frank Mason goes out with 4:17 into the game. So, again, Magic are going nowhere. They've lost. What have they lost? They've lost 15 of their last 18 games now. So, again, not a good night for the Orlando Magic. Straight ahead, we're going to get into a spontaneous text question. Also, the Urban Meyer story we're going to get into. That's next on Open Mic.
Bianchi's got to get a quick word.
then he can catch me, and I'm sure that's what he's
That was Steve Kerr saying, hey, if Brady gets one more, he can have as many championships as I have. Tom Brady, of course, has 7 championships. I guess Steve Kerr, I don't know how many he won as a player. He's won how many as a coach? 3?
Well, then he must have won 4 or 5 as a player. 3 with the Bulls and 2 with the Spurs.
Yeah, it must be 5 as a player and then 3 as a coach of the Golden State Warriors. Yeah, which he's really done a lot to coach that team to championships. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I always feel bad for Mark Jackson.
Right?
Mark Jackson is the Butch Davis of except for Steve Kerr's continued that success.
Yeah, Steve Kerr is definitely not Larry Coke.
Yeah.
I always love the fact, I always have the debate. Like, I don't think NBA coaches are all that important. Like, remember when Steve Kerr went out with he had was it a back injury?
Yes.
And Luke Walton starts the year like 22-0 or something as the, fill-in coach. I'm like, yeah, coaches are real important. Luke Walton starts out 22-0 or whatever it was. So.
I've always looked at Phil Jackson's resume as like the greatest coach of all time. Like, he had like the greatest players of all time too.
Yeah. All right, so Tom Brady, obviously in the news. There was the boat parade the other day when Tom Brady got off the boat after he said a couple of shots of tequila, and he looked like he was hammered. He had somebody standing next to him, sort of helping him walk off the boat as he walked off. Tom Brady's actually been getting a little criticism for being publicly intoxicated, believe it or not. And so Bruce Springsteen, I don't know if you guys saw this story. Speaking of tequila, all right, another celebrity, Bruce Springsteen, was arrested for DUI, or DWI, I guess it is in New Jersey. This was back in November, but it was just made public, all right? So Springsteen was arrested at Gateway National Recreation Area in Sandy Hook, New Jersey. This was back in November, charged with DWI, reckless driving, and consuming alcohol in a closed area. I guess that night, according to a source, I'm reading from an AP story right now. According to a source close to Springsteen, the boss took a shot of alcohol with fans in the park after taking a photo with them. Evidently, he consumed a shot of Patron tequila and then got on his motorcycle and started the engine. That's when a police officer came up to him and said, I guess the police officer or park ranger told him, you're not allowed to drink alcohol in a national park, and you're certainly not allowed to drive afterwards. And Springsteen told the officer he had consumed 2 shots of tequila in the previous 20 minutes, and that's when he got arrested. So, all right, so we have Tom Brady and Bruce Springsteen publicly getting intoxicated on tequila. Does that surprise you guys at all?
That an athlete and a rock and roll star have consumed alcohol? No, not at all.
Not just an athlete. A Super Bowl champion is celebrating a win.
Yeah, but these guys are very, very image conscious, if you will. All right, the boss. This isn't like Ozzy Osbourne. Bruce Springsteen's not like Ozzy Osbourne out in public.
Yeah, but basically part of the prop of taking a picture with some fans is, hey, do a shot with us. Yeah.
Again, I'm just surprised that Springsteen and Brady. I was actually a little surprised when I saw Tom Brady hammered the other day because, again, that's so un-Brady-like. Has anybody ever seen Tom Brady you would expect it from Gronk and some other players, but I don't think anybody expected Tom Brady to get hammered. And it just goes to show, which brings me to the genesis of our spontaneous text question.
Spontaneous First text question of the day.
In my opinion, tequila is evil. Tequila is evil, evil, evil. I drank tequila once when I was in I was still in college, all right, at the University of Florida, and I got talked into drinking the tequila shots with my buddies, and I went home. I had got the dizzy, you know how you get the spins when you're really intoxicated. I had to go home. I stumbled out of the bar and over to my apartment, all right, and I puked in the shower, all right. I remember I was going to get in the shower to try to sober up and make myself feel better, and I puked in the shower, and it clogged the drain of my shower.
Ugh.
So I'm standing there in puke water, okay?
That also means you ate heavily that night.
I'm standing, yeah. So I'm standing in puke water and clogged my drain, and I really had I've had a sip of like margaritas. I don't even like the taste of tequila in margaritas, all right? So I haven't really drank tequila since then except a few sips of margaritas. And the text question is, alcohol that got you sick. Last time you got sick on alcohol.
Well,
you guys remember?
Oh, okay. Yes.
Oh, yeah. You kidding me?
Mine was tequila. Mine was tequila. I was in the Bahamas, and I drank one of two things. I either drink Tito's and Red Bull, or I drink mojitos by the pool. We were in the club one night, and somewhere along the lines, somebody brought over shots, and this was after a couple of Tito's and Red Bulls, so I don't think anything of it. I take a shot, and it's tequila. And later that night, I'm miserable. The next day, I'm miserable. I didn't drink a thing the very next day. I had to drink nothing but coconut water to sort of the electrolytes to get them back in me. I felt so terrible that day. And you know, that evening, I remember because I was talking to Trina on the phone. I'm like, oh, my God, I feel so sad. And she's like, this is ridiculous.
Mike, I believe it was the great Winston Churchill who said success is the ability to go from one failure to another with no loss of enthusiasm. I have blacked out a number of times, and there is still not an alcohol that I will not drink, okay? Give me tequila.
Oof.
I once went shot for shot with a former WWE superstar during the Royal Rumble. Went to work at Topgolf the next day, hammered off of cheap vodka. Guess what? I still will drink vodka. I once got so drunk on Fireball that I threw potato chips around my apartment for no apparent reason.
Oh,
Fireball,
God.
still one of my favorite shots to have. Let me tell you, man, success is
There you
just
have
going from one blackout to the next.
There you have it, the young alcoholic, Austin Pastolka. All right, text in 50857 last time you got sick on alcohol. 50857. Straight ahead, Urban Meyer getting grilled for a controversial hire yesterday. That's next on Open Mic.
Whether you're drinking your morning coffee or sipping on a
Very controversial hiring up in Jacksonville. Urban Meyer already making waves as the new head coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars. He is defending the hiring of Chris Doyle, a former strength coach at the University of Iowa who was accused of making racist remarks, belittling and bullying players. Meyer's decision to hire Doyle, which was announced yesterday as the team's director of sports performance, came to light when he announced his 28-member coaching staff. He also confirmed the hiring of offensive coordinator Darrell Bevel, defensive coordinator Joe Cullen, and former Louisville, Texas, and South Florida head coach Charlie Strong as an assistant head coach / inside linebackers coach. But it was the hiring of Doyle, who had been Iowa's head strength and conditioning coach from 1999 until this past June. That's what drew the attention yesterday. Over the past year, numerous former Iowa players spoke out about mistreatment within the Iowa program. A number of black players said that Doyle used racist language and treated them differently based on their race. Here was Meyer defending the hire yesterday.
Urban, can you address the hiring of Chris Doyle?
Yeah, I've known Chris for close to 20 years. Our relationship goes back to when I was at Utah, and he was the #1 strength coach. And really, he was doing sports performance before sports performance became a high priority in college sports. And so I've known him. I've studied him. We've had a relationship. I vetted him thoroughly along with our general manager and owner. Feel great about the hire, about his expertise at that position. So we vetted him thoroughly.
Yeah, no reservations hiring him. Why hire him instead of going in a different direction?
Oh, sure. I vet everyone on our staff, and like I said, the relationship goes back close to 20 years, and a lot of hard questions asked, a lot of vetting involved.
So you're confident there's not going to be any issues?
Yeah, they're very confident.
Yeah. Did you have to get Shad's permission to hire him?
Shad was involved with our high-end hires, and he was involved.
And are you at all concerned that him being in the building will impact your ability to attract free agents?
If I was, I wouldn't have hired him.
Okay, so that was Urban Meyer answering questions, I think, from AP's Mark Long and Mike DeRocco of ESPN.com. So, again, here's the thing, all right? One thing, play the very beginning of that montage again.
Urban, can you address the hiring of Chris Doyle?
Yeah, I've known Chris for close to 20 years. Our relationship goes back to when I was at Utah, and he was the #1 strength coach. And really,
Stop it right there. All right, he's already lying. He says he knows Doyle from when he was at Utah, and Doyle was the #1 strength coach. Meyer was the head coach at Utah from 2003 to 2004. Doyle was there for 1 year in 1998 before moving to Iowa. So, what is he talking about there? I've known him since I was at Utah, and he was the #1. No, he wasn't there when you were there, Urban. So that's just not true. Now, maybe you knew of him, but doesn't he make it sound like he was that he was
they
Urban Meyer's
strength?
Yeah. Doesn't that what it sounds like to you right there?
Yeah, I will keep going back to this with Urban Meyer, whether or not he's just a good guy or not, and whether he surrounds himself with good guys or not.
Guy.
No, that's my point is this shouldn't shock anybody. The name's slipping me right now. Who's the coach that he kept on the staff at Ohio State?
Zach Smith.
Zach Smith. I mean, how well did he vet Zach Smith? He didn't have to vet him that hard, seeing how his ex-wife was texting he and Shelly saying, hey, listen, he hits me, he beats me, here's bruises, here's pictures, and he still protected him. Listen, if he'll protect a wife beater, he'll protect a racist.
Yeah, and I'm sure this guy is a great strength and conditioning coach, right? He was the highest paid strength and conditioning coach in the country when he was at Iowa, but he's a strength coach, all right? He's not the offensive coordinator. He's not the defensive coordinator. He's the strength coach. There are other strength coaches out there that I'm sure are highly qualified, especially for an NFL job. And I'm all for guys getting second chances. But if you're Urban Meyer and you're coaching in the NFL for the first time, where the players are 70% black, and there is a movement with player empowerment and Black Lives Matter and a racial awakening throughout sports, this guy you're hiring, how does that mesh with everything that's going on in professional sports and college sports right now? How does this even mess? How is this going to sit with NFL players? I mean, there's a lawsuit against this guy up in Iowa right now. So again, I don't
makes the most sense as Urban Meyer, because Urban Meyer thinks he's above everything. Urban Meyer doesn't care. Urban Meyer says, I'm here to win football games. And guess what? He probably will. He could have the worst villainous staff of all time, and he's going to win football games because he's Urban Meyer, and he finds ways to win.
Okay, but I don't see, again, this isn't like some hotshot offensive coordinator. And I realize strength and conditioning coaches are important, but good grief. How many strength and conditioning coaches out there, good ones, would want to work for the Jacksonville Jaguars in the NFL? I mean, he could have had his pick of any college, probably strength and conditioning coach out there. Could have had his pick, all right? And he picks this guy, Chris Doyle.
Yeah, why take a guy who's got this gray cloud hanging over his head, and as you mentioned, bring him into an industry, bring him into an industry, into a locker room that's going to be 75% African American, if not more,
Actually, it's about 70%.
Yeah, but you bring this guy in, and it's not going to be a secret that this guy has this gray cloud hanging over his head. I just don't understand why you would do it. I mean, if I ran an office and 70% of my employees were women, I wouldn't bring in a guy who's accused of multiple sexual assault allegations.
You wouldn't bring in Zach Smith.
Yeah. That probably wouldn't be great for the workplace atmosphere. That's for sure.
Yeah, and again, it's not just racial issues, all right? There have been white players who've accused this guy of bullying. In fact, I'm reading something right now. 13 Iowa players at one point were hospitalized with rhabdomyolysis, which is a stress-induced syndrome that can damage cells and cause kidney damage and even kidney failure following a grueling off-season workout by this guy. All right, so again, this guy is one of these strength and conditioning meatheads who pushes players past the point of exhaustion and even sends them to the hospital. I mean, these draconian strength coaches need to stop. And Urban Meyer in my opinion, he made a very, very, very bad hire here. But we want to know what you think. You can go to @969thegame on Twitter and vote on our thought-provoking daily poll. How did you word that, Austin? Do you have it?
I've got it right here. And like he said, you can vote on it on Twitter @969. The game. Today's thought-provoking daily poll is this: if the renowned Chris Doyle was in fact the best strength coach available, then was Urban Meyer right or wrong to hire him onto the Jacksonville Jaguars staff, even though Doyle was fired by the Iowa Hawkeyes following allegations of racism? Was Meyer right or was Meyer wrong?
Wrong. I don't care if this guy was the best guy out there. Hire the second best guy out there. Hire the second best guy out there. Again, I don't get it.
I mean, all these players have their own personal trainers anyway. They spend millions of dollars of their own money for their own trainers. Their own, I don't get this. I don't get it.
Well, first of all, that's an overstatement. Most players don't spend millions of dollars.
Oh, I'm sorry. Only the most successful ones. You're right.
Well, yeah, like Tom Brady does, but like your average Jacksonville Jaguar inside linebacker is not spending millions of dollars for his own personal
Apparently
trainer.
He doesn't want it enough.
All right around the corner, what should the buyout be on UCF's next new head football coach? That's next on Open Mic.
96.9 The Game, FM, HD, online.
What is this, an instrumental version of Proud Mary?
It is not. This is titled Mrs. Hippie Streamer.
Sounds like Proud Mary to me.
It really does.
At the beginning. Not now, but...
I think
all right,
that's what they were going for.
It sounds like the music that would be playing when some drunk lady at the bar is about to sing her karaoke version of Proud Mary. Tom Brady and I just had some tequila, so I want to sing a song right now.
Tom Brady and Bruce Springsteen can get drunk on tequila, so can I. In relation to Tom Brady and Bruce Springsteen both getting publicly intoxicated on tequila, which is the one liquor that made me sicker than a dog when I was a young college student. Our spontaneous text question is, last time you got sick on alcohol? You can text that into 50857. Fireball, I puked last night. Somebody said.
Fireball's disgusting. You get drunk. You get drunk,
what?
Sick, and diabetes all at the same time.
Yeah.
It's disgusting.
You know
Sounds
what
like
else?
it's efficient.
This is another liquor that got me sick at one time. Rumplemint. Somebody just texted. And you know,
man.
it's that 100 proof peppermint schnapps.
Yep.
Oh, God.
Nasty. Listen, I'm not proud of this one, but I used to get a pint of Rumplemans, and I would play FIFA on Xbox One. I would play online matches, and every time that I lost, I would take a shot of Rumplemans, and I would just end up passing out in my chair in college on a random Thursday.
There you have it. The college alcoholic, Austin Pistolka.
I told you I'm not proud of that one.
Jägermeister, that's also disgusting. Yeah, somebody texted that in. Drank a $20 size bottle of Southern Comfort in 30 minutes at a friend's bachelor party, but like Austin, I have no issue drinking Southern Comfort today, 27 years later. In Jamaica for a 20th anniversary beach party at Oko Rio Beach, drinking coconut rum and Coke. Ooh. Somebody else texted in.
You got to
rum.
try hard to get hammered off coconut rum because that's like 30. That's like 30% alcohol.
Basically drinking water at that point.
Somebody else texted in rum in all capital letters. Don't even want to spell the word. Somebody else texted in. We were just talking about Urban Meyer and hiring Chris Doyle, who's the former strength coach at Iowa, who's been accused of racism. Meyer said that he knew him, not work with him. Drop it, you media whore. Somebody texted in. All right. Play the clip of Urban Meyer, the beginning of the montage where Urban Meyer says he knew him from Utah.
Urban, can you address the hiring of Chris Doyle?
Yeah, I've known Chris for close to 20 years. Our relationship goes back to when I was at Utah, and he was the #1 strength coach. And really, he was doing...
All right, stop it right there. Stop. He said our relationship goes back to when I was at Utah, and he was the #1 strength and conditioning coach. That at least makes it sound like that's how he knew him.
So
right?
I'll give the texter the out here, okay? I'll play the devil's advocate, though. I think that because he knows he's going to get these questions, he's trying to position it like, hey, I've known this guy forever. We've worked together. Blah, 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 blah. He said, I've known him since I was at Utah, which we decided was what, 2003? 2003.
3 and 4. Yeah.
And he was the #1 strength coach. Maybe meaning at that time he was recognized as the #1 strength coach in all of football, and I don't know where he was at in 2003.
He was at Iowa. He was at
Iowa. Okay. So maybe he was recognized, and I don't know if they have like a Broyles Award for the best strength coach, and I don't know if he won it in 2003. But that's the only out, is that I guess technically you could make the argument that he said, I knew him when I knew about him when I was at Iowa, or when I was at Utah, and he was the #1 strength coach at Iowa.
Well, okay. Well, again, if it weren't Urban Meyer or Urban Liar,
right,
I would give him the benefit of the doubt. But I'm not willing to give Urban Liar the benefit of the doubt. Play it one more time, and let's see if what Adam says is true.
Urban, Urban, can you address the hiring of Chris Doyle?
Yeah, I've known Chris for close to 20 years. Our relationship goes back to when I was at Utah, and he was the #1 strength coach, and really he was doing sports performance.
So you're saying he could have meant he was the #1 strength coach in the country?
At Iowa, and I knew him because I was the head coach, and then, these coaches go to these little different things over the summer where they all
Nike junkets.
They'll go to other schools. I mean, I want to say that Urban spent time with Chip Kelly at one point, or some other guys at Oregon. Just to, that's what coaches do. So I will give him I will play the devil's advocate and agree with the texter, but you make the great point. Just like the boy who cried wolf. At some point, you know what I mean? Like your words, you've lost the benefit of the doubt. And Urban Meyer's one of those guys that loses the benefit of the doubt when it comes to questioning whether or not he's telling the truth or not.
I mean, he lied during the whole Zach Smith thing. That's why he got suspended by Ohio State, for crying out loud. You think Ohio State wanted to suspend their head football coach? No, but because he just flat out lied publicly, they had to do something.
It's a bad hire. It's a bad hire. You brought up a great point. Okay, fine. He's the #1 strength coach available. Well, find the #2 coach who's available, who doesn't have this hanging over his head. And somebody asked the question, are you worried that having a guy like this who has these allegations hanging over his head, these lawsuits hanging over his head, will detract from Jacksonville being a destination for free agents? Mike, do you agree or disagree that at a certain point, Tom Coughlin became toxic to the organization when it came to players?
Yes, and this comes in the wake of Tom Coughlin. Jacksonville already has a bad reputation of being not very player-friendly because of Tom Coughlin, and now they bring in this Chris Doyle, who, again, was fired for being a bully and a meathead and an alleged racist at Iowa. Again, this is just a bad hire. Just a bad hire, period. I don't see how Urban Meyer, first of all, he said Shad Khan, the owner, okayed it. I don't know how Shad Khan puts his stamp of approval on this. I really don't.
Simple.
I mean,
He's taking the back seat to this now. Shad Khan says, I hired Urban Meyer. Urban Meyer, do your thing.
Well, again, within reason, without embarrassing the franchise, and that's what Shad Khan has done. Shad Khan is the guy who gave Tom Coughlin free reign to run roughshod over player rights with the Jaguars, breaking the union rules, for crying out loud. Shad Khan signed off on that. Now he's signing off on Urban Meyer doing this. I go back to, everybody thinks Shad Khan is some great owner. He's not a great owner. He's a terrible owner. Look at his team. Look at the coaches he's hired over the years. Look at the record. Look at the team, the draft picks. Shad Khan is a terrible owner. Awful. Anyway, let's pause for station identification.
WYGM Orlando, WJRR HD2 Cocoa Beach, Orlando. Facebook.com/969 The Game.
What you reading there, honey?
It's very exciting stuff, you see. It's the front page of the internet.
Here we go with the front page of the internet this morning. We start off on YouTube's trending page, where there were two major news stories yesterday. The first, and both of them are now sitting atop the YouTube's trending page, one from TMZ and one from WFAA in Texas. The number 2 video, Tessica Brown. Have you heard this name?
Tessica Brown? No.
Tessica Brown. So Tessica Brown had a very bad misunderstanding. There is a hair care product that has a gorilla on it that is, made to have your hair look nice.
Oh, Lord, I see where this is going.
And there is also Gorilla Glue. She put Gorilla Glue in her hair because she thought it was the other thing.
She's not smart?
Well, yeah. I mean...
No. Don't defend. Don't defend.
Okay.
Because how do you go into a grocery store or any store for that matter? Here's what I do know. Hardware and hair care are in two totally separate aisles, okay? I don't know why they're keeping all this hair care product next to the nuts and screws. I don't understand. But I'll take some.
Well...
Plus, when you put it in your hand, all right, to put it on your hair, immediately you know it's Gorilla Glue.
Well, she knew pretty quickly.
Not conditioner, huh?
Yeah, she knew pretty quickly that it was Gorilla Glue. The video of her dealing with the repercussions has gone viral, but this video that is number 2 on YouTube right now is after she had a procedure done to get the Gorilla Glue out of her hair. From TMZ, Tessica Brown finally runs hands through glue-free hair and gets choked up over the situation. 1 million views.
She have to wash her hair with like turpentine or something?
She had to
Paint thinner?
She was put under anesthesia for doctors to remove the Gorilla Glue out of her hair. So,
what happened to the good old days when, like, if your kid would get gum in their hair, you know, you fell asleep with gum in your mouth. That's it. Guess who's going to school with a weird haircut tomorrow? You, Tessica Brown. You're going to look like Sinead O'Connor, Tessica Brown. You're going to get no hair tomorrow. Shaving it all off.
Oh, man.
That'll learn you.
Then the other video on top of YouTube's trending page, the raw aerial footage of the deadly pileup crash in Fort Worth, Texas, involving up to 100 vehicles.
Wow.
100 car pileup in Fort Worth, Texas because of icy rain.
What?
Icy rain. That's why.
No, I was going to say because nobody's adopted my speed, ideas for the interstate, which is no speed limits. There's speed minimums. 60 miles an hour in the right lane, got to be going at least 60, at least 70 in the middle lane, and at least 80 in the left lane. And you have to always merge over. If you get passed on the right-hand side and a police officer sees that, you get a $500 ticket. If somebody has to pass you on the right, that means you got to get over. That's over. Ridiculous. What do you mean get ridiculous?
That's ridiculous.
How is that ridiculous?
First of all, some people's cars don't go 60.
Well, then get over in the right-hand lane.
These electric cars, some of them barely goes.
Then there's highways and byways for you. Get off the interstate, buddy boy. with your little moped or your Vespa scooter, whatever it is you're riding around town. Out of my way in the left lane, please.
Happy birthday today to, I'm talking about superheroes. Deal with it. Happy birthday to the big bad villain Thanos, Josh Brolin. How old is he today?
I don't even know who Thanos is.
As if Josh Brolin hasn't starred in anything else besides being like a comic book.
Okay, what? Name a bigger role than the big bad guy in the MCU.
But that's not even like, it doesn't even look like him. Isn't the Thanos the big giant guy
with the giant purple guy?
The big giant purple guy. So it's not even like you know who he is in the movie.
Whatever. He's 53 years old today. Happy birthday to Thanos. Then heading on over to Reddit very quickly.
Thanos is technically 4,032 years old, though.
Gosh dang it.
He was born on the planet Krypton.
That's the wrong universe, Mike. That's DC. Get on my level. Finally, over on Reddit, the Tinder subreddit, someone tweeted their experience where someone offered a different type of pickup line.
Yeah.
They said, "Do you like olives?" She said, "Yes." "Well, I'd let you have my olives." Is that an innuendo? No, I don't like olives, and so if there was something on my plate that had olives, I'd let you have the olives. They say they're going on a date soon.
That was his pickup line?
That was his pickup line.
That's terrible.
I don't like olives. You can have the olives if you want them.
By the way, Bumble, which I owe a lot of my life's happiness to right now.
Love Bumble, yeah.
Bumble had their IPO yesterday. It was expected to go at 43. 73. Yeah. So while all the other stocks were tanking yesterday, love was in the air, and so was money.
Nice. Yeah. Love was in the air as Valentine's Day comes near.
Yeah.
Did I ever tell you guys about the time I had to get drug tested when I was gonna get the job at the Sentinel? They sent me to get drug tested, all right? And I was drinking heavily at the time, and so I go to get drug tested, and it was I got the urine test, and it had olives in it. Yeah.
That's hilarious.
Oh, man. Took you a while, but we got there. That's good. That's good.
All right. So the contract for UCF's new AD Terry Mahajer was released yesterday, and Matt Marshall of the Orlando Sentinel got a hold of it. And Terry Mahajer, let me see if I can find the story real quick. Terry Mahajer is going to make a base salary of $795,000 this year. It will increase to $825,000 year 2, $850,000 year 3, $900,000 year 4, and then $950,000 in year 5. A substantial raise from his time at Arkansas State, where he made $450,000. So essentially, he's doubling his salary. There's also a buyout, all right? And the buyout clause says that he's required to pay 55% of the balance of his base salary through the end of his contract. That's if he leaves during the first 2 years. The number increases to 65% if it occurs in year 3, 80% in year 4 or 5. All right, so speaking of buyouts, there's been a big debate about buyouts and football coaches' contracts, all right? And we all know that Josh Heupel, when he was hired by Danny White, originally he had a $10 million buyout, all right? That went down incrementally the number of years Josh Heupel stayed until the final year when it was $3.5 million. And that's what UCF got when Josh Heupel went to Tennessee. So we have a supplemental poll out there. What should the buyout in UCF's next head coach's contract be? And I think, Austin, what were the choices?
Choices were $1 million, $5 million, $10 million, or $20 million.
What's to stop a school from putting a $20 million buyout? Seriously.
What if he sucks?
Well, you can still fire him. That just means if he leaves on his own.
I'd imagine that anybody who try to one, nobody would take it. And then two, even if they did take it, their representation would build in such a crazy looking. Well, if you fire him, then it's 3 or 4x multiple. I mean, something that's equitable.
Well, you know what? But if you're the school, just say no.
Okay.
No.
Oh, then coaches would say no too. Yeah, coaches would say no too.
Okay, but I'm not so sure. Like for instance, all right, and I'll use the Buffalo head coach, who's been a hell of a head coach for Buffalo. They went undefeated during the regular season this past year. He's had a great record at Buffalo. I think his name is Lance Leopold, all right? Lance Leopold. He's 56 years old, all right? Don't know if he's going to get a big-time coaching job. If you're Lance Leopold and UCF offers you, I don't know, he's probably making not even $1 million at Buffalo, all right? If UCF offers you $2.5 million, but there's the $20 million buyout, you're not taking that?
So
I would.
So you're Lance Leopold. Are 56. So by the time you're done with your 4 years here, you've built the program up 4 years, you're 60 years old. Are you at 60 years old? Are you getting a big job offer that you'd want to take? I'm thinking more along the lines of the younger guys.
You're thinking about Jeff Lebby.
Yeah, I'm thinking of Jeff Lebby's not signing a contract that includes a $20 million, which makes him absolutely unhireable by a bigger school. No way. Is
Jeff Lebby signed? Because, again, Josh Heupel signed the $10 million buyout.
I think 10, because you know that 10, if you get hired away by an SEC school, they can do that. Florida paid 7 and got creative for Jim McElwain. Boy, they want that money back, right?
Yeah.
But I think that if you're talking about going from an American Athletic Conference to an SEC school, you can get creative with the home game that they gave Colorado State. You can jimmy that number around.
But also,
20's a lot.
On top of that, $10 million of an original buyout, you know that you're going to be there for at least 2 years. That $10 million buyout, like you said, drops. After
I wouldn't drop it.
Mike's saying no. It's $20 million.
You're saying hard ball.
I'm saying no. I do agree, $20 million. But the hot young coaches wouldn't sign that, but they might sign $10 million. And if they don't, I'll find one who does.
How about you know what I would do? I would sign a 3 to 4 year deal. I would sign a 4-year deal as the head coach. And then when we got to that end of that 4-year deal, if that 20 and I was extremely successful, then that $20 million buyout. I mean, my price back to you. You just see out the 4 years. I think you just see out the 4 years. If you're a hot and up-and-coming coach, you just recognize year 2 or 3. I'm not signing an extension here. I'm not doing that because I'm going to take a job the very next year.
But if you leave and I'm signing you as the head coach, $10 million buyout across the board doesn't decrease over time. It's $10 million. Take it or leave it.
I think 10 works at a school like UCF.
Yeah. So anyway, go vote on that supplemental poll as well. Straight ahead, it's the sound off. What's the sound off? It means we're going to hear from all the newsmakers in the world of sports. That's next on Open Mic. But first, hold on. You have a chance to win $1,000 right now. The Magic are playing with the G League roster right now.
I've known Chris for close to 20 years. Our relationship goes back to when I was at Utah, and he was the #1 strength coach. And really, he was doing sports performance before sports performance became a high priority. And I've known him. I've studied him. I vetted him thoroughly, along with our general manager and owner. Feel great about the hire, about his expertise at that position. So we vetted him thoroughly.
So you're confident there's not going to be any issues?
Yeah, there won't. They're very confident.
That was Urban Meyer, head coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars, talking about how the vetting process for these coaches now. It's incredible, isn't it? Adam, this controversial is putting it lightly, isn't it?
Well, I would say that, this vetting is quite interesting because I think one of the first things you'd look up is somebody's history, right?
Yeah.
And when you find out
What's
that
the first thing you do when you Google someone? what comes up?
Yeah, I mean, especially when you're looking to hire and bring people into your organization that's going to, have, contact and impact with your employees. You may want to know if, they have any lawsuits pending against them, accusations against them that may make it difficult for you to lure some of the better free agents to, come work for your company. And if you actually did that vetting process and you did your due diligence, you'd find out that this guy has both as strikes against him. But Urban Meyer hired him anyway, and
we're talking about Chris Doyle, the strength and conditioning coach, who was hired by Urban Meyer yesterday.
Who was at Iowa, who has pending lawsuits against him, brought by former players, both white and African American. There's allegations of racist talk before. So again, you didn't have to really turn a whole lot of stones over to find some negative information about this guy. Could have hired the second best available strength and conditioning coach that doesn't have these issues hanging over his head, and it would have been a much better hire for your organization.
Oh, no, it didn't bother us at all. We knew what we meant to the team. We knew the role we played and everything. As long as we got that Super Bowl ring, I mean, they could say whoever won the game, it don't matter. We got the ring. I don't care. We know it was a team effort. We all stepped up in the biggest game of our lives and made it happen.
Shaq Barrett of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers talking about how the defense, they don't care about credit. We just happy that we got the ring, brother. Mike, this gotta be your kind of guy. Doesn't care about the credit, just works hard for the sake of working hard and the team effort, right?
Absolutely. But, I mean, come on now. A lot of people gave the defense credit after that Super Bowl. I mean, yeah, Brady got the MVP. The quarterback always gets the MVP, all right? But most people throughout the playoffs said, yeah, Brady's playing good, but the defense is carrying the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They carried them in the Super Bowl when Patrick Mahomes couldn't even get into the end zone one time. So, yeah, it's great that they don't want the credit, but they got the credit anyway.
I mean, that's like, man, if Tom's throwing, I trust him. Like, I was shocked that he did it, but I was like, well, that's Tom throwing it, man. He's always clutch. He's going to make it to the other boat. That's just Tom. You'd have most seen somebody dive in that water forward.
That's Steve McClendon, defensive tackle of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, saying, I was shocked when I saw Tom Brady throw the Lombardi trophy from one boat to the other. My goodness, what a scene. Is that, let me ask you this, Adam. Is that moment top 3 iconic moments of Tom Brady's career?
Okay, Tuck Rule would be number 1.
Tuck Rule's number 1.
Iconic moment for Tom Brady.
Like this is one of those moments where, like, oh my gosh, it's
like you will remember it.
You will remember this.
I think stumbling off the boat drunk is more iconic.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. Tossing the Lombardi trophy.
Who is that again? Who is that? Was talking Steve
Cameron
McClendon?
Brate.
Steve McClendon.
Cameron Brate was the guy who caught the Lombardi.
How about
trophy.
Who here is shocked to learn that Stephen McClendon is a member of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers defense? Wait, Shaq Barrett's saying, like, all these guys, that guy's got a ring? How about LaShawn McCoy's got 2 Super Bowl rings? Didn't play a snap in either bowl game. Didn't play a snap in either Super Bowl.
That's the sound off for today, which means Yeah, that's right. We got a 4-pack of tickets to the Monster Energy Supercross happening Saturday, February 13th in Orlando. The world's most captivating motorsport spectacle will bring the bravest and most talented athletes on the planet to Orlando, where the aerial battle for supremacy that is Monster Energy Supercross takes over Camping World Stadium on February 13th. Do not miss your chance to witness this gravity-defying showcase of speed, skill, and relentless determination. Give us a call, 407-916-8255 for your chance at a 4-pack of tickets to the Monster Energy Supercross, Saturday, February 13th.
Speaking of motorsports, we're going to head to Daytona, talk to our Daytona 500 insider, Ken Willis of the Daytona Beach News Journal. That is next on Open Mic.
Open Mic will be
How about this push, Kevin Harvick?
Another one. Yep, another one.
Dillon are going to have to get up and block him. Going to have to get up. Here
The
it
inside,
comes.
yep.
There's the block. Dillon to the bottom. Here they come, racing to the line. It is Dillon. Power move right there.
Nice job, man.
Come on, Bubba Wallace. You can't let Austin Dillon do that to you. Right at the end of the second dual 150 qualifying race last night at Daytona, Austin Dillon wins the second race. You heard Eric Almirola wins the first race. He's my pick, by the way, to win the Daytona 500. Why? Because he's from Tampa, and we know everybody from Tampa wins championships. All right, let's head over to Daytona and talk to my good friend Ken Willis, columnist of the Daytona Beach News-Journal. You can read all of his excellent racing coverage at news-journalonline.com. Ken Willis, how are you this morning?
How do you spell hyphen? A lot of people leave that hyphen out. A lot of people leave that hyphen out. You know, we try. Yeah, we got to coach them up on that. But
yeah,
you
absolutely,
got an all important hyphen. Yeah.
I'm a big News-Journal reader. Yeah, I'm doing good, Ken. Hey, Ken, by the way, did I see where your colleague at the News-Journal, Godwin Kelly, he got something named after him at the track yesterday? Or
you know how he got something named after him? Because he's a former colleague. You got to retire or die. He took the easy way and retired. And so they, you know, back in the old days, they had the old media center, which was like not much to speak of. Was named after Benny Kahn, who was a long-time News-Journal sports editor, and he was one of the earliest. He was absolutely the earliest, the very first NASCAR reporter, because he was there in the room when they formed the organization in '47. But they tore that down when they redid the infield and built a new media center, and they didn't carry his name over to the new media center, and so it sat there nameless for years, and we always assumed they were hoping that somebody would, some sponsor would come along and put their name on it, and they never did. But inside the big media center is a big workroom, what they call the Deadline Print Media Room, and so they named that after Godwin and put a picture of him up from the mid '80s. This is one glamour shot. He had that one. You know, all of us guys, we had that window. We have that 6-month window where we look pretty good in our lives, and we hang on to those pictures for the rest of our lives, and we use it for every profile photo, from Twitter to Facebook to all of them. And yeah, that was his 6-month window of decency, and that's the picture that they used. God bless him. So.
All right, I want to ask you, we have a thought-provoking daily poll question about the Daytona 500. I'll ask you the question, and you can give me your answer, all right? And the question is this: which potential winner would be the best storyline for NASCAR at Sunday's Daytona 500? Bubba Wallace driving Michael Jordan's car, Denny Hamlin in a three-peat, Kyle Busch finally winning the big one, or Ryan Newman a year after the death-defying crash? Which would be best for NASCAR?
Can I add a fifth?
Yeah.
Austin Dillon in the number 3 car 20 years after Earnhardt's death.
Ooh, that's a good one. Yeah.
Yeah, and he won his little qualifier last night. So yeah. I just kinked up your poll, didn't I?
Yeah, you did, but that's okay. That's okay. I think
I
would still vote Bubba Wallace driving Michael Jordan's car.
Yeah, and he's there's been some guys over the year, Mike Wallace, Michael Waltrip, and a few other guys who seem like they were just born for plate racing at Daytona. You know, this crazy, nutty pack racing stuff that they have here. They seem like they're just born for it, and that's why he was good at it. He's been good at it all along, even when he was in a car that wasn't as highly funded, and therefore as stacked as this car seems to be. I mean, he was at Petty Enterprises with a mid-pack team, and knew how to find his way to the front at Daytona and Talladega. And so now he's got better quality equipment under him, and last night he had a real shot last night. It just he was just in a tough spot, but it just shows you, though. I don't know if you were how much you were paying attention, and but he got shuffled. He got sent into the middle lane and by himself, which means he went backwards. It was like dropping an anchor, And he went backwards to the back of that lead pack, back to around 12th or 14th, 15th, somewhere in there, with only about 9 laps to go. And you go, all right, well, there goes Bubba's chances. And then you remind yourself, well, no, things change in a hurry at this stuff, And sure enough, before you know it, he's back to 8th, he's back to 6th, he's back to 4th, and there he is on the restart, the final restart in the lead. So things change in a hurry. It doesn't take long to find the fast lane. You get in that diamond lane on a plate race, and you find your way back to the front. And he had a real chance to win. But he was sort of, damned if you do, damned if you don't. So he went up to block Austin Dillon, and Austin just hooked it to the left and went down inside of him. And I'm sure he'll replay it a few times. There was something he could have done different, but there's always something you think he could have done different.
You mentioned the 20-year anniversary of Dale Earnhardt dying at the Daytona 500 in 2001. I'm curious, Ken, can you sort of relive that? What were you doing? What do you remember? Did you know how long after the race did you know that Dale, that this was bad news? And also just the impact of that crash on the sport.
Well, it's the impact has been on multiple fronts, mostly on the safety front. And that day, I guess the first, you watch the wreck, and you replay the wreck in your mind, and you remember watching, and you go, okay, well, I've seen that 100 times. It just, the guy, you don't even think about an injury, much less a fatality. If you were forced to think about it at the very instant, you go, okay, he might have a shoulder bruise, a sternum bruise, or something. It just didn't look that violent. But at that moment in time, you were taken aback when you saw the reaction of Kenny Schrader when he ran over to Earnhardt's car just to make sure he was okay, and he saw whatever it was he saw when he looked inside that cockpit and started waving for the ambulance. That's when you go, oh my goodness. That's from that moment on, you had a bad feeling. In the aftermath, it's if you look at everything that's come along afterwards, all the safety gear, the Hans device, the soft wall technology, the restraint systems in the cockpit. They have a traveling medical team now. They do baseline concussion tests. It changed everything. They used to always say safety is first and foremost, but in retrospect, it was they had a long way to go. They could have stepped up their game a whole lot more than they were, but they were doing what they thought was best, and then they sort of left that stuff up to the teams and drivers. But then after Earnhardt died, it just like, whoa, that like flipped the switch, and it changed the whole racing world, specifically NASCAR. And and knock on wood, has not been a fatality since in NASCAR, and there were 4 in a 8-month period. He was the 4th, and now that's a particularly bloody period of time for NASCAR. They had that happen once, maybe twice back in the '60s, around the time Joe Weatherly, Fireball Roberts, and a couple other guys. But that was a particularly bad time there between 2000 and 2001, but nothing since. And it's when you think of the most simple piece of equipment you have is that Hans device that they wear around their shoulder and neck and kind of runs down toward the sternum a little bit. It holds the head in place. It doesn't allow the head to snap forward when you have a headlong contact with the wall or whatever.
That would have saved Dale, right?
Equipment, yeah. That one simple piece of equipment that in that race, I think 2 drivers were wearing it, 2, maybe 3. It had just started coming along, and it was just becoming commonplace in other forms of racing. And I think Brett Bodine was the only guy who was wearing it regularly in NASCAR. And by the end of that year in 2001, it was mandatory. Some form of head and neck restraint was mandatory. Then by the next year, I think they decided that the Hans device was going to be the one that everybody has to wear. And you think of that little simple piece of equipment alone. Now, that alone hasn't done it. It's been a combination of everything. But that little piece of carbon fiber that guys wear around their neck in all forms of racing these days, it has. I have over the years, in those 20 years, you see a wreck. I don't know, you see a wreck, and it's sort of just second nature for me. I'll say, well, there's a guy who's lucky, who's lucky. 25 years ago, he would have been hurt at minimum. you'll see a guy hit a wall head on or something, and you just think to yourself, all right, there's another one, put that one on the board. There's a guy who 25 years ago would not have walked away from this, and they just get out and, they might limp a little bit, they might get shaken up a little bit, but it's not, it is light years. It's light years away from what it used to be. It's almost like comparing what Orville and Wilbur Wright were flying compared to some sort of airplane equipment today. It's just nothing.
Yeah, the Kitty Hawk plane, not anything like the Boeing 757s of today.
not
question.
Quite. There was a guy once, I remember a guy during the Rolex, he was here for the Rolex weekend, the sports cars, and he stayed around for NASCAR Speed Weeks. And he was a sports car Formula One guy, and he stuck his head in he looked inside a NASCAR cockpit. This is back in the late 90s. And he stuck his head in there, it's just got that old bucket seat they used to have with a lap belt and chest harness and not a whole lot else in there. And he came out and he stood up and he looks around. He goes, looks rather agricultural.
A little antiquated, huh? Yeah.
Yeah, just a bit.
Ken Willis, nobody covers NASCAR better. You can check out all of his coverage at news-journalonline.com. That's news-journalonline.com. Ken, we appreciate it. We'll see you Sunday.
All right, I'm heading back to the coffee pot. Thank you.
There you have it, Ken Willis. All right, straight ahead, we are going to tackle all the hot topics, including, is Urban Meyer turning into Urban Liar already up in Jacksonville? That's next on Open Mic.
to put the pedal to the floor. It's loud and live and local. Oh, time for open mic.
Welcome back to Open Mic. I'm Mike Bianchi, the Bulldog, sports columnist of the Orlando Sentinel, joined as always by Adam Reardon, the deceptive intellect, and Austin Pastolka, the Sultan of Sound.
Yeah.
What are you laughing at?
I'm laughing because I got you fired up right before we come on.
Idiotic tweet that somebody tweeted out about me.
Mike, you know how hot you are?
Put a lapdog in the microwave. Somebody's hot.
I was hot. Yeah, we were talking about the UCF. We'll get to it during the blast segment because we have a question about it. And you can read the tweet then if you want to, Austin, because again, the tweet makes no sense. They don't know what they're talking about, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. We appreciate our listeners.
What about the tweet that patted me on the back for my idea, on the interstate?
Oh, I haven't seen that tweet.
Yeah,
that's the dumb.
Yep, slow drivers to the right. Everybody, come on, everybody to the right.
Well, if that goes without saying. That's supposed to be what you do.
Why doesn't it happen, Mike?
No, Mike. See, here's the problem: that it says that the speed limit is like 70 miles an hour, right? So you have everybody going 68, 69, 70, 71, and they're kind of like intermingled. And that's where passing on the right becomes an issue, because now I got to pass on the right because you're going too slow in the left-hand lane. So in the left-hand lane, if there was no speed limit, those guys could just zoom past the people that choose to go 68, people who choose to go 78, people like me who prefer to go 88 would be allowed in the left-hand. Whoop. Whoop, whoop, right past you.
All right, there you have it.
Wave.
Adam's dumb idea that at least one tweeter thinks is smart. All right. One thing I think we all agree that wasn't smart was Jacksonville Jaguars head coach Urban Meyer defending his hiring of Chris Doyle, the former strength coach at the University of Iowa, who was accused of making racist remarks, belittling and bullying players. Meyer's decision to hire Doyle as the team's director of sports performance overshadowed all of the other 28 members of his coaching staff that he announced yesterday. He also confirmed the hiring of offensive coordinator Darrell Bevell, defensive coordinator Joel Cullen, former Louisville, Texas, and USF head coach Charlie Strong as the assistant head coach / inside linebackers coach. Nobody was talking about those hires yesterday. Everybody was talking about his hiring of Chris Doyle, who had been Iowa's director of strength and conditioning from 1999 until this past June. So 2 decades this guy was at Iowa. And again, he was fired at Iowa after a number of black players said that Doyle used racist language and treated them differently based on their race. There's a lot of other charges against Chris Doyle. There's a lawsuit against him filed by 13 black ex-Iowa football players. There's also some white football players who have accused him of being a bully as a strength and conditioning coach. So that's who Urban Meyer chose to hire as his strength and conditioning coach yesterday. And here was Urban Meyer being questioned by reporters about it.
Urban, can you address the hiring of Chris Doyle?
Yeah, I've known Chris for close to 20 years. Our relationship goes back to when I was at Utah, and he was the #1 strength coach. And really, he was doing sports performance before sports performance became a high priority in college sports. And so I've known him. I've studied him. We've had a relationship. I vetted him thoroughly along with our general manager and owner. Feel great about the hire, about his expertise at that position. So we vetted him thoroughly.
He had no reservations hiring him. Why hire him instead of going in a different direction?
Oh, sure. I vet everyone on our staff. And like I said, the relationship goes back close to 20 years and a lot of hard questions asked, a lot of vetting involved.
So you're confident there's not going to be any issues?
Yeah, they're very confident.
Yeah. Did you have to get Shad's permission to hire him?
Shad was involved with our hires, and he was involved.
And are you at all concerned that him being in the building will impact your ability to attract free agents?
If I was, I wouldn't have hired him.
Okay, so that was Urban Meyer answering questions, getting grilled by the Jacksonville Jaguars media yesterday. You heard the first part of that clip. I've questioned Urban Meyer being truthful. I've certainly questioned that in the past. He said that he knew Doyle from when he coached at Utah, and Doyle was the #1 strength coach. I assume, well, play the beginning again.
Urban, can you address the hiring of Chris Doyle?
Yeah, I've known Chris for close to 20 years. Our relationship goes back to when I was at Utah, and he was the #1 strength coach, and really he was doing sports.
Okay, right there. So he says it goes back to when he was at Utah and Doyle was the #1 strength coach, but Meyer was the head coach at Utah from 2003 to 2004. Doyle was only at Utah for 1 year, and that was in 1998 before he moved on to Iowa. But Adam Reardon said maybe the context wasn't the right context. What did you say Urban Meyer might have meant?
That he was the #1 strength coach in the country is what he meant. Not our #1, not our leader at our program when I was there, but he had then gone from a job at Utah back before Utah was sort of on the map with Urban Meyer, and he was so good he got a job in the Big Ten. And so, obviously the guy was talented at his job, and so maybe that's what he was referring to. And then maybe somebody at Utah got him connected and said, hey, maybe you should reach out to this guy. He was great here for us if you're looking for a guy.
You know what, Reardon? You've sort of changed my mind. I'm gonna give you I'm gonna say that you've changed my mind. I'm actually gonna give Urban Meyer the benefit of the doubt. Why am I gonna do that? Because not even Urban Meyer is. I realize he's not a truthful human being, but not even he's gonna lie on something where somebody can just go back and look when he was at Utah compared to when the strength coach was at Utah.
Well, Mike, we he did lie about Zach Smith, knowing that people found out. Well, I guess maybe he didn't know that people were going to find out later that his wife had gotten text messages of bruises and stuff.
Yeah, but I don't think he knew that those text messages were going to become public. Right? Yeah, when he was at Utah and when Chris Doyle was at Utah, that's in the media guide. You can just go back and check that. All right, we're going to use this as a stopping off point and a tease for the blast, which is coming your way right after this station identification.
WYGM Orlando, WJRR HD2 Cocoa Beach. Listen live on iHeartRadio. Now. No, seriously, do it now. You feel that?
I can feel it.
We're about to blast off.
Just took it to my veins!
It's time for the blast.
That's right. It is time for the blast. The blast brought to you by Frank Gay Services. I know someone out there needs an electrician or they need a plumber and they need them right now. Let me tell you where to go. FrankGayServices.com is the place to go for all your electrician and plumber needs. It's the Frank Gay way, FrankGayServices.com. We start off with the open mic thought-provoking daily poll. If the renowned Chris Doyle was, in fact, the best strength coach available, then was Urban Meyer right or wrong to hire him onto the Jacksonville Jaguars staff, even though Doyle was fired by the Iowa Hawkeyes following allegations of racism? Was Meyer right or was he wrong?
Wrong. He was wrong, and I'm sure this guy technically is a great strength coach. He was the highest paid strength coach in the country when he was at Iowa. But, as I said earlier, he's not an offensive coordinator. He's not a defensive coordinator. He's a damn strength coach. There are other strength coaches out there, and really good ones. I'm all for guys getting second chances, don't get me wrong. But if you're Urban Meyer and you're coaching in the NFL for the first time, where the players are 70% black, and there is a movement for Black Lives Matter, player entitlement and empowerment in the NFL right now, this guy's not the right guy to hire. I don't care if he's the #1 strength coach in the country. Hire the #2 guy that doesn't have this sort of baggage.
Yeah, but I will say this. At least it's on brand for Urban Meyer, who, if you look back at his history as a coach, He's had guys on his team. He had some high character guys, but also have had some questionable moral guys on his teams as well. If you're a Jaguar fan, at least you know you won't hear this come draft time. His character was a question. That's why we didn't take him. There will be no question about character in the Jacksonville Jaguar organization from this point forward. Let me tell you that right now. If that's the best player on the board, they're taking the best player on the board, okay?
With 64% of the vote, Urban Meyer was wrong. Supplemental poll number 1, which potential winner would be the best storyline for NASCAR at Sunday's Daytona 500? Is it Bubba Wallace driving the Michael Jordan car, Denny Hamlin in a three-peat, Kyle Busch finally winning the big one, or Ryan Newman a year after his death-defying crash?
Man, the Ryan Newman story would be unbelievable. But you said what's best for NASCAR? I mean, Michael Jordan is now involved in your sport, one of the biggest sports superstars in the history of our country. If Michael Jordan's car with Bubba Wallace, the only black driver on the circuit driving that car, if that were to happen, it would transcend NASCAR. It would be a huge story throughout. It would be on CNN, Fox News, all of that. So that would be best for NASCAR. And plus, there's this. Bubba Wallace is very quotable, very charismatic, so they could use a superstar like Bubba Wallace at the top of the sport.
Yeah, I'm with you. Bubba Wallace winning would be the best thing for NASCAR, as we've seen with other sports when there's diversity within it, when everybody feels included, feels represented, it's better. Golf, Tiger Woods, tennis, Serena Williams. If NASCAR had their athlete like a Bubba Wallace that could become sort of front and center, and this is the Super Bowl of motorsports, I think it would be huge, at least initially. Now, we'd have to see, how it goes from there, but I think that for a weekend, if you want people talking about NASCAR on Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday of next week, not just for 10 minutes on Monday, Bubba Wallace is your answer.
With 42% of the vote, Ryan Newman edges out Bubba Wallace in this race. Anyway, that was dumb.
Race.
Supplemental poll number 2. How much of a buyout should UCF put into the contract of its new football coach? And this is what spawned the hate tweet that Mike Bianchi got. Should it be $1 million buyout, $5 million buyout, $10 million buyout, or a $20 million buyout?
I think it should be what the buyout that Danny White put for Josh Heupel after Scott Frost left after 2 years. Danny White wanted to make sure Josh Heupel was going to be there at least for a while, and he put a $10 million buyout. But that $10 million buyout decreased annually, all right? So by the time Josh Heupel actually left UCF for Tennessee, it was $3.5 million. I'd put $10 million buyout across the board, no decreasing it. What was the tweet, by the way?
The tweet, let me pull it up. Here we go. Reason number 123,456,789 that Mike should be nowhere near business decisions of any enterprise. No one is paying that, and UCF can never change the coach. Golden handcuffs have a downside, too.
Wait a minute. Okay, so if nobody... If you want to say nobody's paying it, fine. But why can't UCF change the coach? UCF can change the coach whenever they want to. They can fire the coach just like they have in the past.
Again, I think if you built in language that says if anybody hires you at any time, it's $10 million or $20 million, I think is the number you came up with. There would have to be some give back on UCF side, which is, hey, if you fire me within the first...
then don't hire him.
All right, well, then
you're not going to get a good coach.
Yeah, well, then, the texter is right in this, that nobody's taking... the only person who's taking that job is somebody you probably don't want anyway.
Apparently, it's Mike Bianchi taking that job.
Josh Heupel took the job with a $10 million buyout.
With a decreasing $10 million buyout. Yeah. So, but you're saying $20 million across the board never, ever, ever goes away. Then you'd have to give something back if you're UCF.
No. I'm not saying $20 million. I'm saying $10 million. I'm not saying $20 million. I'm going to the Buffalo head coach, Lance Leopold, and I'm saying, listen, offering you a job. You're going to more than double your salary to come to UCF, but there's a $10 million buyout that's not going to decrease. Take it or leave it.
Yeah, Leopold would take it. Jeff Lebby would tell you to kick rocks.
Yeah.
Well, maybe not. Maybe not.
36% of the vote says a $5 million buyout will suffice.
Okay.
Supplemental poll number 3. Which celebrity are you more surprised was drinking tequila and getting intoxicated, allegedly, publicly? Tom Brady or Bruce Springsteen?
Well, I'm gonna go. Now, Bruce Springsteen, he was in some national park up in New Jersey or national reserve or something up in New Jersey, and he was taking pictures with fans, and he did a couple of shots of Patron tequila with them. All right, so that's not really shocking to me. What's shocking to me is Tom Brady, the health nut, the prim and proper Tom Brady who never puts any sort of poison into his body, drinking tequila and then stumbling off the boat. To me, that's more shocking than Bruce Springsteen.
He probably only had like 3 shots. Someone who doesn't drink a lot.
Well, let me say, as somebody who never drank at all in his life, I'll never forget my first experience, which was I had 3 shots. And in 5 minutes, I didn't feel anything. And so I said, let me have 3 more of those. And then it was like getting beat up by 6 people.
Yeah. sort of like when I ate the mushrooms in college. Yeah, this thing's having no effect on me.
I need more. I'm gonna up my dosage.
And then that was a mistake.
Oh my God, it's Keith Morrison.
What am I doing? The clock is melting.
Ooh, the pretty
Jim Morrison. I said Keith Morrison. I'm sorry.
Who's Keith Morrison?
Keith Morrison.
Who is that?
Adam Morrison.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean,
Adam Morrison.
He's friends with Frank Murray. I don't know who that guy is.
71% of the vote says Tom Brady is the shocking one there. Supplemental poll number 4. Do you agree with Mike Bianchi that tequila shots are nasty and puke-inducing? Yes or no?
Yeah, this goes back to my college days when I was talked into having shots of tequila with my buddies, and I started getting the spins, and I stumbled back to my apartment, got in the shower to try to sober up, and I puked in the shower, clogged up the drain, and I was standing in puke water, and that's why I don't drink tequila to this day.
I'm with Mike. Tequila's disgusting. The fact that somebody figured out they could actually turn a cactus into liquor is weird science, but I don't like it. I also get sick with it. So
sounds like you guys are a couple quitters. That's what I'm saying.
I don't even want to be a starter.
64% of the vote says yes, they agree with Mike Bianchi. And finally, the open mic Would You Rather poll. Would you rather never eat meat again or never eat desserts ever again?
Well, for the sake of the animals, I should say I would never want to eat meat again, but I like meat better than I like desserts. I mean, I love hamburgers. I love steak is my favorite, pork loin. And yeah, I love meat. And plus, desserts are loaded with carbs, which means you'll get fat. So I'm going, I would much rather continue eating meat.
Now, red meat or
meat.
Period.
Any meat.
Oh, like protein. Like any.
You can't have any meat.
I mean, you can have. There's plant-based protein.
Yeah, you can have your Beyond Burgers and your.
No fish. Is fish a meat?
Fish is a meat.
Yeah.
Actually, no. How about this? We'll go the Catholic route of it. Fish is allowed.
Then
fish is allowed?
Now fish is allowed.
I don't know. I ate too much salmon this week, and I heard that's bad for you.
You're gonna get mercury.
Get a lot of mercury.
That's what I heard. That's all right. Yeah. Trina didn't stop me either, so I don't know if she's trying to end this before it really gets going or what. I don't know. I'll give up the desserts.
Giving up the desserts?
Yeah, because I want to be able to eat chicken and fish.
77% of the vote says no more desserts.
There
Bunch
you
of
go.
carnivores.
All right, straight ahead, we're going to head up to Jacksonville, talk to our Jaguars insider about Urban Meyer already causing controversy as the head coach of the Jags. That's next on Open Mic, but don't go anywhere. You have a chance to win $1,000 right now.
Now.
really he was doing sports performance before sports performance became a high priority. And I've known him, I've studied him, I vetted him thoroughly along with our general manager and owner. Feel great about the hire, about his expertise at that position. So we vetted him thoroughly.
So you're confident there's not going to be any issues?
Yeah, they're very confident.
Hey, everybody, let's get ready for a thrill. Make some noise for the Jaguars of Jacksonville.
Yeah, I don't know if Urban Meyer gave him a thrill yesterday when he announced the hiring of Chris Doyle, the former strength coach at the University of Iowa, who was accused of making racist remarks, belittling and bullying players, all sorts of stuff when he was at Iowa. And Urban Meyer yesterday, the new coach of the Jaguars, he hired Chris Doyle as the Jaguars, I don't know what title he used, but it's essentially the head strength and conditioning coach in Jacksonville. Let's go up to Jacksonville, talk to our good friend and Jaguars insider, Gene Fournette. Of course, he covers the Jaguars, writes columns for the Florida Times Union. You can find all of his coverage at jacksonville.com. Gino, how are you this morning?
Doing well, Mikey.
Good, Gino. Gino, first of all, clear something up for us, all right? All right, Austin, play the first part of the clip we just played real quick.
I've known Chris for close to 20 years. Our relationship goes back to when I was at Utah, and he was the #1 strength coach, and really he was doing sports performance.
Okay, right there. Gene, clear that up, because Urban Meyer wasn't at Utah at the same time as Chris Doyle. Did he mean something differently there?
I'm not sure. But my first question is, I didn't know they had rankings for strength coaches. I didn't, is there a top 25 for strength coaches? Because if there is, I missed that. You know, he just declared him the #1 strength coach.
Yeah.
Based on what? Hey, listen, I'm not saying this guy's not good at his job. Obviously, if he held it for 21 years at the University of Iowa, he probably did a good job. But when you have that cloud hanging over your head, I mean. And not only that, not only did, and to me, this is all a reflection of Urban's win at all costs philosophy. That's the downside you get when Urban Meyer wants to win at all costs, right? We saw it at Florida with all the player arrests. We saw it at Ohio State with his, continuing to employ a guy who had multiple allegations of beating his wife. And, to me, this is just sort of another example of that. Like I said, this guy might be good at his job in terms of physically developing players. But listen, when you agree to separate from a school because of the allegations of belittling players and making racist remarks, I mean, you couldn't go and find somebody else to fill that position? And let me add this position of director of sports performance, that's sort of a newly created position. There's already a strength and conditioning coach and 3 assistants. So Chris Doyle is going to oversee all of that. He's going to oversee, the nutrition aspect of the Jaguars, the training staff. He's sort of like the CEO of all that. But still, that being said, hiring this guy, just 6 or 7 months after he was basically forced out of there because of the allegations. Really a head scratcher. Very, very, very poor optic and PR look for Urban Meyer.
I'm curious, not just that, Gene. I think somebody asked him the question yesterday about how this will affect potential free agents coming to Jacksonville. We all know what's going on in sports and in this country. I mean, you had the Black Lives Matter movement. You have a racial awakening throughout sports. You have player empowerment now in football and basketball and throughout sports. How's this going to play in the locker room where the players are 70% black?
That's a very good question. I mean, at some point, I would think, we're not inside the locker room or inside the building when these relationships are being forged and they're going through the process of getting to know each other. But at some point, Urban Meyer is going to have to address that in the locker room. And right now the Jaguars have a cornerback, Greg Maben, who was from Iowa and is a black player, and I have to believe that some of the players are going to be asking Greg, "Hey, what did you see when you were there?" So, and this, and Greg Maben's been out of Iowa now for 4 years. But that's you would think that that's going to come up, or at least certainly be a concern in the minds of the players. Because I tell you what, if you think that doesn't go over well in college, wait till God forbid if that should happen with NFL players, because they won't stand for it. There'll be a mutiny of some kind in the NFL, because these are grown men. They're not college kids, and so I just think Urban has invited trouble and awkwardness into the locker room when he didn't have to.
Yeah, especially. I mean, you talk about bad optics, and could this affect free agency, especially coming off the Tom Coughlin reign of tyranny, where a lot of free agents obviously were probably turned off to Jacksonville after the letter that was written by the players union, essentially blasting Tom Coughlin and telling free agents not to go there. Again, this is not a good look after that.
Yeah, this is why this whole thing is so puzzling. I mean, Urban Meyer certainly couldn't be so blind to the idea that this hire might create some PR trouble for him. I also noticed that one of Shad Khan's PR guys actually sat in on that whole interview session, and you don't normally see Shad Khan's PR guy doing that. So I wondered if he was anticipating some Chris Doyle questions, and just to see how Urban would handle that, and just to see how all that would go over, because he was not. To the best of my knowledge, I did not see him on previous Zoom calls when Urban Meyer was involved.
I'm a little bit surprised that Shad Khan would sign off on this. I guess he really has given Urban Meyer full control, huh?
That's exactly what I was thinking as well. That I've said it before. I mean, Shad Khan, in my opinion, he's got a very mad man crush on Urban Meyer. I mean, he thinks that this guy is going to totally transform the Jaguars franchise, and he might. I'm not saying that Urban Meyer won't do that with all the resources that he's got, with 11 draft picks and gobs of salary cap space. So the Jaguars could get good here in a very short amount of time. I'm thinking like maybe in 2 years you might see this team in the playoffs if they make the right choices in the draft and free agency, and Trevor Lawrence turns out to be the walking on water quarterback that many Jaguar fans thinks he is. So we'll see. But I just thought that, my gosh, you roll out this coaching staff, and the dominant story is the hire of this director of sports performance. I just didn't get it. I tweeted as soon as they announced the hire. I tweeted out it was a very, very puzzling hire, and Urban Meyer, of all people, should have known better.
Gene, real quick, in about 30 to 45 seconds, other than Chris Doyle, how did you like Urban Meyer's staff, putting together his staff?
I actually thought it was a pretty solid staff. You had, he didn't go the big college route that people might have initially thought. 18 coaches have a combined NFL experience of 208 years. He's got 4 guys in there at the highest positions who have a ton of NFL experience. You got like 4 guys with 20-plus years, including the offensive coordinator, Darrell Bevel, the passing game coordinator, as you know, Brian Schottenheimer, and the offensive line coach, George Warhop. So, and the defensive line coach, the defensive coordinator has 14 years of NFL experience, a lot of it with the Ravens. So you've got a staff there that's got very solid NFL experience. So from that standpoint, I think he made a lot of good hires. He just made one really puzzling hire to oversee the strength and conditioning program.
Gene Fournette, nobody writes about the Jaguars better. Check him out at jacksonville.com. Thank you, Gino.
You got it, Mikey. See ya.
Straight ahead, it's Mark Daniels and The Bridge. We'll get his opinion on all of our